right, everybody. It is a few minutes after, so we are going to go ahead and dive in. So, welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us today. We know that you're busy planning all those fall events and getting ready to welcome your summer wanderers back into the fold. So, we are excited to talk to you today about some communication strategies and best practices you can use to help reconnect with your members and new visitors as we get closer to the end of the summer. Before we dive in, I do want to cover a few quick reminders. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, be sure to post those in the Q&A, not the chat. You can share where you're from over in the chat, but we have some awesome team members from both ACS Technologies and Constant Contact that are going to be monitoring that Q&A, making sure that they get your questions answered as they pop up. So Q&A is the place to be. Next, this webinar is recorded. You'll get a copy of it early next week. So if you have to jump off at any point, or if you feel like you missed something or just want to share this with someone else at your church, you'll be able to do that once you get that recording next week. So a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. We'll have a quick introduction, and then we're going to move into some struggles you may face at this time of the year and what you can expect this time of the year. And then we'll talk about some segmentation strategies and personalization best practices that you can use to better connect and engage with your members. And of course, we'll have a special promo for you and the next steps that you can take if you're ready to start implementing some of the tips that Matthew will share with us today. And then last, we'll try to leave some time at the end for questions that are not already answered in the Q&A and try to cover those before you leave today. So for quick introductions, I'm Leanne Ortega. I have been here at ACST for about 4.5 years now on the product marketing team. Previously, I worked as a communications director at a church here in Florence, South Carolina, where we actually used Constant Contact. So I'm personally excited to welcome Matthew from Constant Contact.
Well, thanks, Leanne. Matthew Montoya, Senior Manager, Indirect Customer Ops and Success. That ridiculous title just means that I teach Constant Contact, and I've been teaching Constant Contact and digital marketing best practices for 14 years now. I've been with Constant Contact. I've taught over 14,000 small businesses, nonprofits, churches. I'm going to take some of that experience and bring it to life today, and it's an absolute joy to join you all today.
Well, thank you, Matthew. You'll hear from him in just a few minutes. We are proud to partner with Constant Contact, and we have been for quite a few years now to provide strong communication and email tools to support you in reaching your community and better connecting with your members. Constant Contact does integrate with both Realm and ACS, so you can stop worrying about sending to all of those outdated contact lists, and you can start building those beautiful templated emails in Constant Contact, knowing that they are going to the right place. So now that we have covered who we are, we're going to jump right into some of the common struggles that we typically hear from ministries at this time of the year. Most of those are, it's common that you are taking a break from the busy schedule of your Bible studies and your children and youth ministries and all the mission opportunities that you typically offer, because it's the summertime. Your members are taking vacations and they're out of town, including your staff. They're taking time off as well to kind of recharge. So you adjust your schedule during that summer to meet that lower attendance level that you expect. But now that the summer is ending, you have to shift that and kind of transition from that bare schedule, ramp up your full activity schedule, and that can be slightly overwhelming. You may also be wondering how you can communicate opportunities that you have planned for the fall, because even though people are starting to come back through your doors, the involvement seems a little bit lower than normal. And that may be due to a lack of communication strategy, but where do you even begin with that? So I want to cover just a few of the audiences that you'll want to consider this time of the year and what you can expect this time of the year. First are new faces. You know, the summer is the best time for relocating for families. The kids are out of school. A lot of business is a little bit slower. So it's a great time for them to move. And that means you likely have many new faces in your community that are now looking for a new home church to get plugged into. Your members are also very eager to jump back into ministry. They've taken those vacations, they're recharged, they're ready to start new Bible studies and get their children and youth back into activities and start getting involved again. And last, your volunteers and staff, they've had time to step away and relax and refresh their heart and mind. And now they are chomping at the bits to dive back in and to start serving again. So with those audiences in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Matthew to cover how you can use those expectations to start planning your communication strategy.
Well, firstly, I can't believe we're talking about the end of summer already, and I'm living that right now because my wife and I are trying to coordinate school schedules. And the big one for me is that I was on the phone for a while with my daughter, who's visiting grandma right now, to coordinate her college schedule, which is I have a freshman in college starting this fall, and it's a whole new ball game. So I can't believe summer's over. But let's get to the point at hand. We'll talk about this concept of segmentation. So, as I said, I was going to share some of my 14 years experience. And I've sat down with church communication folks and looked at their emails. They always want me when I go on the road and I teach people, come look at my email. Tell me how I'm doing. Give me some tips. And so I have sat down with church communication folks, and they how am I doing? And I kind of have to go, well, bless your heart. It's a really long email. You're talking to a lot of different people in this one email, and I get it. You're a volunteer, you're pressed for time, or maybe you are on staff, but you've always got lots of hats to wear, lots of things to do. And it might just be easier to just get that one email and just communicate out to everyone. That's not effective in this day and age. I'm sorry, it's just not. These devices have changed attention spans, and the more you can take your list and segment, I'm going to define segmentation in a second. The more you can segment it, the more you're going to see increases in donations, increases in volunteers, decreases in unsubscribes. You're going to see more behavior, which is ultimately why you're communicating with them through email. When you do this segmentation idea, and again, I'm going to explain it to you in a second, you can expect 11% higher open rate. That's because people see a subject line that resonates with them, it's talking to them, and you're going to see a lift in those people opening. But especially important, you're going to see a 27% increase in people clicking. And now what they're clicking on is going to differ for all of you, but they're probably going to your donation page, or going to the volunteer page, or learning about a mission trip. Whatever it is that you're communicating, they're probably going to click on a link and learn more and take action. And that's ultimately what you want people to do. So what is segmentation? Segmentation is actually relatively simple to wrap your head around. It's just taking a large list of people and breaking it up into smaller, refined groups of people. And I'm going to give you some examples of different kinds of segmentation you can do. But the whole idea here is to make it relevant, to make sure that you're taking attention spans into account and giving people only the information that's going to be most impactful for them, for the community, and for your church. And so why? Well, you're going to see better engagement. You're going to see those improvements in opens and clicks. You're going to see more readership, more interaction. Ultimately, why you're doing it. Unsubscribes does happen to church. People will unsubscribe, usually because they're moving, but it does happen. You're going to see a decrease in that. So, where do you begin? Well, first, obviously, determine your end goal. So, if you're talking to folks that have children in the youth ministry, that would be a goal. I want to talk to those parents. I want to tell them what's going on. If you're talking to a volunteer group, or you're talking to a mission group, that's your goal. I'm talking to these folks. Try to make it as personal as possible. We're going to talk about personalization in just a little bit. Don't go overboard. What I'm teaching you, you don't want to go crazy. You don't need to have 82 emails for every separate little segment that might be in your church, but you just want to look kind of broad categories. And all of this is to make sure that your content is relevant to the people that are on your list. So there are some ways that you can segment. I would have to consult with each of you individually to give you the best examples, but here's some broad examples. Firstly would be geographic. So if you have multiple locations, that's going to be kind of the example of a geographic, zip code, city, state, things of that nature. Demographic, that's going to be the ones that where most of y'all are probably playing, is in demographics. What's their age range? What's their gender, marital status? Are they children? Are they youth ministry, family status, role in the ministry? Have they volunteered? Will they volunteer? Are they interested in doing something deeper with you? And then the last form of segmentation is, do they regularly take action, both with your church and also in email? So are they regularly opening? Are they regularly clicking? That's going to give you some ideas of what your content strategy is, like what you're putting in the email, and also how engaged, how interested those members of the church are. So some broad examples of how churches segment within Constant Contact. So, and do know, most of this is going to be relevant to all of you, whether you use Constant Contact or not. I am going to give some specific Constant Contact examples, but no matter what, if you're using email marketing, one of our competitors, we'd love to have you over at Constant Contact. I would just seek out some of the solutions that the other tools have if you're not using Constant Contact. But broadly, here's what churches that use Constant Contact are using segmentation for. We see some new visitors. So if somebody's a visitor or a new member, you might want to build a segmentation so you're welcoming them. You can even tie that to automation. So you're welcoming them to the church and you're giving them some common information that they might want to know as they start to become part of your ministry. You probably want to talk to church members differently than new visitors, right? Church members have been established with you for a while, and new members need additional information. Regular attendees would fall into that too. Youth ministry is probably the most a common example of segmentation I see when it comes to churches. Breaking out your lists and speaking to those parents specifically what's going on in youth programs is certainly a way to make sure your content is relevant. And I'll use a broad stroke example for you. So if you have some folks that don't have children in ministry, you probably don't want to be talking about the Sunday school schedule and things that are going on in the youth ministry to those that, older folks that may not have kids in the youth ministry. It's not relevant for them, right? Volunteers. And volunteers, another example where we see a lot of churches using automation where they'll automatically onboard a volunteer, giving them a series of emails on steps they need to take. And I also see a lot of examples around this for mission trips. And then lastly, engaging with people that have not regularly been active in your emails and making sure you're paying attention to the people that are. So how do you learn about people? How do you learn about your members? How do you learn about your visitors so that you can use segmentation? Well, it starts with you collecting their information. And I'm glad that Leanne brought up the relationship that Constant Contact has with ACS and Realm because that contact information is flowing right into Constant Contact. So any data you're collecting is flowing into Constant Contact automatically for you. But it starts with your intake of that information. So make sure as you're putting people into your systems and getting contact information, you're asking information about them that might be helpful for you to segment them. So do you have children? What are their ages, et cetera, et cetera? The more information you can gather about what they'd be willing to do with the church, what their past history with their previous church was, any information you can gather is going to help you give them that refined, relevant content. Another strategy you can employ, now this is Constant Contact's example, but I'm pretty sure our competitors would have something like this too. At the bottom of every email in Constant Contact, there's a little update profile link. When a subscriber clicks on that update profile link, they get a form where they can update their profile. They can actually give you more information about themselves that you haven't collected at the beginning. And that would be pushed back into Realm ACS, right? So you're updating all the records about the subscriber, and savvy churches will actually occasionally encourage people to click that update profile link at the bottom. You have to tell them. A lot of people may not look at the bottom of that email. Savvy churches will encourage people to go do that. Then there's a little more advanced feature. Now, again, this is a Constant Contact functionality I'm about to show you. Investigate what other solution you're using if they do this. I can't speak to whether they do or not. But when you send out an email, it's very wise for you to use links in the email. You can see examples of some links here in this email. A lot of churches that I've met, well, I'll call it 50-50. Some churches use links quite a bit. They're very active in having links in their emails. Some churches just use it as a good old-fashioned almost email bulletin. It's just everything going on in the church. There's nothing to click on. It's to your advantage to include links in your email because you're going to learn a little bit more about the subscribers because they're clicking on a link. So a tool like Constant Contact reports who clicked on what link. By learning what people click on, then your strategy can evolve a bit because you now know that this content is relevant. Additionally, if I did have an email, let's imagine that this email had a specific Bible study series and people clicked on the link to learn more about that series. I know now these people are going to be most interested in that Bible study. I may follow up with them with additional information about it because they kind of rose their hand. They clicked on a link. And again, Constant Contact reports that back to you that they rose their hand. They were interested in that. So if your brain's kind of swimming and this is all just really advanced information to you, do know that Constant Contact makes it really easy for you to take this idea of taking your big list and breaking it up into smaller groups. When you add a link into Constant Contact, you'll see a screen like this. All right. And most churches would just paste in the address of the link they want to drive people to. But there's this little subtle link right here, and it's click enable click segmentation. And what that does when you turn that on, anybody who clicks on the link can automatically have their contact information copied into a new or existing list. Constant Contact will segment for you. When they click on the link, they're automatically added to a list about that link. That way you could follow up with people. So again, using that volunteer model, that donation model, that um, youth trip, right? Whatever it is, they're raising their hand when they click a link. It's almost like a survey. You're learning about these people and you can follow up with them with more information about what they raised their hand about. So the way this works is you enable that click segmentation. And then of course, when you send out your email, the subscriber is going to click a link in that. They're going to go to the place you want them to go. Maybe that's event registration, maybe that's your social media, wherever it is you're trying to educate them a little bit more on what you have in your email. Behind the scenes, your list, in this case, will grow by one magically, automatically. It'll just add them to that list. Then later, you can send to that list, and you know that they were interested in that information because they raised their hand. They clicked on that link. We know that this is going to be relevant information. If you're trying to increase, I'm just going to call it like it is, you're sending out an email to communicate with people on what's going on in the church and the community in the world, right? That's why you're sending out. You want them to be raising their hand. Yes, I'm interested in doing this. I'm interested in doing that. I'm interested in this subject matter. This functionality allows you to kind of meet people where they are because thanks to smart devices, smartphones, people's attention span is just not what it used to be. The next thing I'm going to show you is a little advanced, but don't let me scare you off. This functionality, it's called segmentation. It's found in the contacts button within Constant Contact. And this is where Realm and ACS and Constant Contact really dance for you. Because what this can do is you set up this segmentation engine at the beginning, and it just carves up your list automatically all the time. It is a living list. And so the way that this works is you decide, okay, I want to look in my ACS data, my Realm data, my Constant Contact data, and I want to find people that look like this particular type of church member. So it starts with, perhaps I want to look at the folks that are regularly clicking my emails. Then maybe I want to see if they are on a particular list or perhaps not on a particular list. Now, you don't have to do both of these. It's just a way for you to refine your list. Another example would be with information about your subscriber. So maybe I'm trying to find men. Maybe I'm trying to find parents. Maybe I'm trying to find folks that have yet to be baptized. Whatever it is, as long as that data exists, Constant Contact can find those people for you. The end result is you will have a list of people that met that criteria. This is an evolving list. As you put information into Realm, ACS, as that's flowing into Constant Contact, as people are taking action with your Constant Contact email, people are moving into this list or out of this list for you. And when you're sending an email, most of y'all that use Constant Contact probably familiar with selecting a list to send to, you can send to a segment. And that's that evolving list that's as up to date as it could possibly be. You can also select kind of preset segmentation. So if you just want to target the folks that are kind of lapsing and they're not paying attention to you, you can select them really easily and send them an email, try to get them back to paying attention to you. Or perhaps you want to look at the folks that are regularly opening and clicking, and you want to send them some information that they'll act on, and you'll know they're going to act on it because they're regularly opening and clicking your links in your email. This is something I know it's a little advanced, but people are people. The average attention span, the average time a person spends in an email is 9 seconds. And so if you are trying to change your community, the world, enlighten people and help them, help your church, you want to think through this kind of strategy, especially now that we're coming back out of summer. This is a great time to start taking some of these kind of advanced techniques and using them. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the easiest, which is kind of, I use air quotes, mail merge. Constant Contact has a mail merge. You can take your email and you can personalize it with people's first name, their child's name, the last activity they took, the last donation they made. You can change the email so that each email reads a little bit different to the subscribers. And this functionality has a fallback. So I bet y'all have gotten letters in the mail where it says, "Dear blank, comma." That's kind of embarrassing. Well, Constant Contact has this fallback, the secondary text feature, where you can put in some text so that when the email goes out, let's say I send Leanne an email and I only got her email address. I didn't get her first name, but I have a dear space. I have that mail merge set up. Well, I could have it say "Dear church member" instead of Leanne's name because I didn't collect Leanne's name. So this kind of helps you from embarrassment. But the more you can personalize the email, that 9 seconds becomes a lot longer. And ultimately, the reason you're sending out your emails to communicate to people, this is how people communicate now. So moving forward, your goals into the fall is to make sure you're paying attention to your metrics. Are enough people opening your emails? Are enough people clicking on links in your email? You want to make sure that you're paying attention to that and just start simple. A simple segmentation strategy, church members versus visitors, right? Like start just really simple, real base, or church members and parents. Start real simple. That's segmentation. You will see a result. You'll see an increase in your donations, your volunteers, whatever it is you're trying to communicate out. You'll see an increase in that behavior. And with that, let me throw it back to my friend Leanne, who's going to talk to you about that special offer.
Yes, I always have the privilege of sharing promos, which is my favorite part. So if you would like to take advantage of adding Constant Contact today, you will get 30% off your first 3 months, plus complimentary onboarding options to set you up for success. And we also have some promos there for if you want to prepay for a subscription, whether that be 6 months or a year. So if you want to take advantage of that, we have a QR code. You can scan this with your phone. It'll pull up where you can sign up. They are also throwing the link if you want to just click on the link in the chat. So check that chat and you can see the link to sign up or save it for later. All right, I also left the QR code here just so you have more time with it, but I want to make sure we are able to answer all of the questions coming in. So I am going to pull up the Q&A. Let's see if there are any that haven't been answered already. Let's see.
Well, I'll go ahead and answer the number one question, which is my favorite color is blue.
Perfect. I know we did have one come in that said, let me go back to read it. How does segmentation work for smaller churches? Do you have any recommendations for that?
So I would start with taking a look at why you're communicating, what you're communicating, and there's always a basic on-off segmentation for small businesses, churches, nonprofits. Everybody has this same basic segment. Are they a member or are they not? Are they a customer or are they not? Are they a volunteer or are they not? That's the most common kind of segmentation. You might want to talk to folks who have come for a visit but have not yet committed to becoming a member of your church. You may want to talk to them in a slightly different voice, give them different information. You may be overwhelming them if you just send them your regular email communication. You might want to shepherd them to a certain extent to come back and visit you again. Where your members, they're members. And especially if they're regular churchgoers, well, they'll be more accepting of everything going on in your schedule than that on-off, that basic segmentation. If you're a small church, you also want to be thinking through what programs you're offering. Does it make sense for you to have a dedicated youth services email versus a general communication? Um, uh, you might also want to have a definite communication to your volunteers or your church elders, or there's a variety of different kinds of segments that you might build up based on the kind of church you are. But don't let the size of your church mask the need for segmentation. Humans are humans, and our attention span has gotten very, very short. And ultimately, you're sending out this communication for a reason. So at least think through that on off. Are they a member? Are they just a visitor? That's the most basic form of communication.
There's another one in Constant Contact. Can you send a newsletter designed in Canva as your email?
Yeah, ish. So Canva, Constant Contact has a free integration with Canva. Now Canva does have some email creation functionality, but you can't really push that whole email into Constant Contact, but you can push campaigns into it. So if you're developing a banner and some custom images and some designs, you have two options. One, when you're adding an image into Constant Contact, there's a purple Canva button. If you click that, it'll sync your Canva account and you can pull some images from Canva into your email. They're going to only be what's called poster size. So they're going to be, imagine a poster, tiny little poster in your email. I use Canva quite a bit. And what I do is I actually build my creative in Canva. And then instead of downloading it, I look and I type in Constant Contact. You only have to do it once. And I'll push my creative into Constant Contact as a way to save some time. Great
That is
advanced
great.
question.
Now, I'm a big Canva fan, so that was submitted by Anonymous, but whoever you are, I understand. I am a Canva fan.
My emails that I send out are like 60% Canva. I do really nice little dividers and headers, and I really customize it with Canva because it's so easy to use.
It is. It's a wonderful tool, especially if you don't have a graphic designer on staff. So we, there's another question come in. How does constant contact segments interact with realm groups? Matthew, do you want to take that? Or do you want me to cover that?
I think that's going to be a you.
Perfect. So Realm groups, you can send contact lists and you can actually set up in Realm a two-way sync between Constant Contact and Realm. So you will set that up and you can choose what that includes, and it will send your contact list in kind of a nightly sync over to Constant Contact and back. So if you happen to make a contact change in Constant Contact, that is part of that two-way sync, is that it'll actually sync back into Realm to make sure if you've updated an email in Constant Contact, that email address will also get updated in Realm, so you don't have to worry about the two systems not matching. So that will allow you to send groups. You can also build queries, custom queries, things like that in Realm, and send that over to Constant Contact. That's all included with that two-way sync integration.
And I'll tag on to that just a bit. So because you have segmentation built into you, the custom query, I'm assuming, is a segmentation. Well, we can kind of put peanut butter with jelly. You can do your custom queries and create segments in Realm ACS, and then perhaps marry that with, are they regularly opening an email? Are they not regularly opening an email? The kind of data that only Constant Contact would have. It's the best of both worlds.
Perfect. We have another one here. If they already have Constant Contact, do they have the segmentation options? Are they already in Constant Contact?
They likely do. So the segmentation option is available in our standard and premium plans. Most Constant Contact customers, period, including for Realm ACS, are in our standard level, and they would have it. Only the light plan is missing that segmentation functionality.
All right, let's see. So our newsletter is built in Adobe InDesign and emailed as a PDF. Does that integrate?
We do two things. You can upload a PDF and just make it the email. There's an even faster way where if you go to the create button in Constant Contact, one of the options is turn my PDF into an email. Now, a warning, you want to try to avoid that. Even though we will make it a PDF, you'll want to add an email. It's just basically turning your PDF into an image. And the problem is spam filters, we do not like emails that are just only image, because spam filters need to have context. They need to know what your email is about to decide whether they're going to deliver the email or not. And because if I'm hearing this right, because your email is all one image, spam filters aren't going to know what it is, and they're going to throw it in the garbage. So you want to have at least 80% of your email, or 20% of your email, be text, like literally text, typed in text, copied and pasted text, to get around that spam filter. I get why you would do that. You're building your email already in a graphic design way, but you definitely want to have some actual text in your email to get around that spam filter. So
Perfect.
well, long answer to a short question. Yeah, you can. You can do it easy, but just make sure you put some actual text in the email too.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, it is after 1:30, so we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. That was a great way to end it with that question. I do have the QR code still up. That link is in the chat if you are interested in signing up for Constant Contact today and taking advantage of that promo. We are very grateful that you all joined us today. We are hopeful that these tips and tricks and best strategies will help you reconnect with your summer wonders, kind of bring them back into the fold as we start fall. And we hope that you all found this very helpful. We will stay on for just a minute to finish answering some of those open questions. But thank you, Matthew from Constant Contact, for joining us, and we appreciate everybody's time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, everybody.